Here's another cooking video. Some people liked the last one I did, so I thought I'd do one more. This is minestrone soup. This has been our way of getting my son to eat vegetables since he was young, because he really always liked this, actually. So the ingredients. Let's start from left to right. So in the back here, that's just 6 cups of broth, of chicken broth. It's supposed to be, but I used a vegetarian chicken broth, and I was actually out of it, so I combined it with some other vegetable chicken broth, and I just put it in one of the cups. So there's a total of 6 cups of liquid, and all the broth is concentrated in the larger one. Diced onions, 1 diced onion, 2 celery stalks, about a teaspoon of oregano and basil, 4 cloves of garlic, 1 cup of macaroni, 1 cup of about 1 big carrot, maybe a little bit more, about 1/3 pound of green beans, and in the back some red kidney beans, crushed tomatoes, and diced tomatoes. So the first step is to start sauteing, I guess. I mean, I'm gonna put the onions in the oil and the carrots and the beans and the celery. So here we go. Okay, got the onions in the pot. Gonna cook these for about 4 minutes until they're translucent. And I will pause the camera so you don't have to watch that. There it is, that's about right. About translucent. So now I'm going to add the garlic. And just give that a stir for about 30 seconds or so. Has that been 30 seconds? I guess so. Now I'm going to add the celery and the carrots. By the way, the temperature's on about medium-high. And I'm going to do this for about 5 minutes. Just like this. I'll be right back. So it's been about 5 minutes. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add these green beans, this oregano and basil, and I forgot to mention before, about a 3/4 to start with, teaspoon of salt, and do this for about 3 more minutes. Okay, so that's been about 3 minutes. Now the next step is to add the liquid components. So this is 6 cups of broth. You see water because I concentrated everything in that other one. I made the broth. Okay, so I added that. This is the crushed tomatoes. And the diced tomatoes. That one's also diced tomatoes. Give that a stir. So now I'm going to bring this to a boil. And then here, you know, the timing is actually pretty important, but I'll let that come to a boil. Okay, so it's just coming to a boil. It doesn't have to be absolutely, you know, rapid boil like a kind of a cauldron, but it should be about maybe a little bit longer. Well, that's good. So I'm going to turn the heat down to about, you know, not low, but a little bit above it. And I'm going to cover it with the lid. And then I'm going to set the timer, and this is kind of important, to 10 minutes. And you don't want to cook it too long. Soup's too long. No, wrong one. You don't want to cook it too long because the vegetables start to break down, and it's not a very good result if you cook soup too long. So do this part for 10 minutes. Let's see how it's bubbed. Yeah, that's about right. do that for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to add the last ingredients, which are macaroni elbows and kidney beans, and then cook for another 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, the timer's about to go. It's been about 10 minutes. There it is. Okay, exactly 10 minutes. So now the elbow macaroni I used for wheat. I drained the kidney beans and rinsed them. Okay. Now I'm going to give that a little stir. I'm going to turn up the temperature, take the boil off, and put the lid back on, and reset the timer for 10 minutes. And that'll be the end of the soup, besides adjusting the salt, and I also adjust the acidity with red wine vinegar usually. So that's it for now. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, so that's been 10 minutes. I'm going to turn it off now, and transfer it to, I'm going to, this is not a professional video, so I'm going to scoot it over here to the other burner, and I'm just going to let it cool off. So one thing I want to point out is that if you scoop this up and then you look at the elbow macaroni, you'll think, oh, they're not done yet, which is actually true. I mean, they need to cook a little bit longer. But since the water's extremely hot, I mean, the broth is extremely hot, if I leave it just like this, they will soften up and enlarge and be like the macaroni you're expecting. So the very last thing that needs to be done is I need to adjust the salt and possibly the sourness or the acidity, and that's about it. So I'll let it cool off, and then maybe I'll say something about that. Okay, I tasted it. It's really hot, but so I put 3/4, maybe a little bit more, tiny bit more than 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt in there, and I think that's about right, actually. It's not usually the case. And also the tanginess of it is okay, and it's really balanced well against the salt. So the last thing I'm going to do is put some black pepper in it, and since I need both hands to grind that, I can't put that on the video, so it's basically done. That's what's for lunch. And this, I can't say this is not a difficult thing to make. It does take quite a while, especially chopping everything up, and then you're at the stove here for at least 20 or 25 minutes. But this recipe will last us. This pot of soup will last us about, good as a side dish, probably an entire week, as a main dish, maybe 2 or 3 times, or 2.5 times or something like that, really big bowls. Today we're going to have it with focaccia, that we made yesterday. This was incredibly good. The first time I made it, it was really easy too, because we have a bread machine that makes the dough. But what's on top is just basil, olive oil, salt, and that's green pepper that I've fried to kind of a char in olive oil and put on top, and wow, it was really good yesterday. First time we made that. That's going with the soup today. So that's it. If you want the recipe, I will put it somewhere so you can use it.